Maybe I'm not that crazy. Think about it, okay? If the shutdown had continued, more and more children, 20 million children who rely on SNAP benefits, 42 million Americans rely on SNAP benefits, would have gone hungry if the shutdown continued. This administration, the Republican administration, was never going to feed them. But they were never going to feed them. They were not going to follow court orders until it went to the Supreme Court. It would have had to wait to get there before they would have done something about it. They were going to keep stopping from any efforts to feed them, right? They were going to wait all the way through. And the Supreme Court could have just held off on it. So you're talking November, December, holiday season, kids, 42 million Americans not being fed, right? And so the Democrats would be a part of that. So the Democrats, a certain number of them have now said, okay, we're going to make a deal so we can get people fed and we're going to negotiate Medicare. What did the Republicans win? Except for, bragging rights. Seriously, except for bragging rights, what did they win? All they did was show America that they were not going to feed even their own people. How many Republican voters rely on SNAP benefits? A shit ton. They were not even going to feed them in order to say, hey, we won. They were not going to give people back their Medicare and Medicaid. A shit ton of Republican voters, they were not going to give that back, right? That's not a win there. So I think we may have secretly won this shutdown because now the entire country knows they won't feed their own people. Not just Americans and kids in general. They won't even feed their own voters. They won't give back the Medicare and Medicaid that they took from them because they want to give a tax cut to their billionaire and now trillionaire buddies, right? That's all they showed throughout all of this. And so now you have the Democrats, a certain number of the Democrats are coming in and saying, okay, we'll open up the government. And now they can say, hey, we were the ones who actually unlocked this and got people fed while we try to negotiate Medicare and Medicaid. The Republicans can't do that. If at some point they had said, like, okay, we'll give them SNAP benefits back, they could have said this is a victory. The Democrats were trying to starve you and now we saved you. They lose all of that. They lose all of that. So the Democrats, out of all this, they have proven to the American people, an overwhelming number of American people think that the Republicans were behind the shutdown. They showed to the American people that they're willing to get them fed and they are still willing to fight for their Medicare and Medicaid. And when that comes to a solo vote, that's not lost in the big, beautiful bill somewhere. That means Republicans have to vote on it. And if the House decides we're not going to vote on Medicare and Medicaid, that becomes the news. And that's squarely on them. If they decide to vote on it, everyone that votes against giving Medicare and Medicaid back to their voters, including their voters, that's on them. That's on them in the Senate. Like, that becomes the focus, right? So by opening up the government again, the Democrats actually saved a ton of kids, a ton of Americans from going hungry. They did not get the Medicare and Medicaid that they wanted, right? If that was the hill they were going to die on, I don't know if we were ever going to get there. And I think they may have read that in the tea leaves. And so Trump and the Republicans say, hey, we won. We won, but they got nothing out of that win. They got nothing out of that win except one big prize: the Epstein files. That's the fucking prize. Dems win again. Because not only are the Republicans the ones who are starving Americans, who are taking away their health care, but now we're going to get into the middle of all of that, the Epstein files, the Jeffrey folders, and all of that cover up and who is behind all of that, right? So, and I might be wrong here. I am not here standing up for, Schumer and his cronies and all those guys. I'm not quite sure why they did it. But I think we can take some victories out of this. I would love to get Medicare and Medicaid taken care of. Honestly, like, that should be number one. But if we don't, that's all on them. It's all on them every single time they vote against it because they're the ones that took it. But the Epstein stuff is front and center. And you want to talk about a blue wave, blue tsunami from last week? Think about all these things adding up for next year. We're getting into impeachment style territory, like full up impeachment, even through the Senate. So maybe it's not as bad as we thought. Or maybe I'm a fucking optimist.